Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Green Factor, a show where we talk about green design and the business of sustainability. Today, we'll be talking about an investor's view on financial metric. With me today, we have Mr. Amiruddin Aziz, a, 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 a seasoned investor, which has been in the industry for quite some time. So, hi, Abame.
Hai, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So just for the benefit of the audience, I met Abang Amir in one of Magic's program. At that time, we were working with Silicon Valley investors, and that is when I get to know and learn a lot more about how the startup investment and a lot of this thing work. So I'm glad today we have Abang Amir here because I have a lot of because I'm doing fundraising, so I also have a lot of other entrepreneurs that are looking to fundraise and all that. So I decided to invite you to also help us to learn more about how investor would look, especially in terms of the financial metrics lah. So Abang Amir, I think before we go into the topic for the benefit of our viewers, can you just share a little bit about yourself and your journey and what you are doing currently?
Okay. Nice of you to call me Abang May, but actually, I dah jadi uncle tau. I'm quite old actually. I've been in the finance industry ever since I started work, lah. Which was in 81. So those of you who can compute quickly, you will know that I'm over 60 now. That's quite some time already, lah. I was at that time working in the banks, basically in finance. And finally, I landed up in managing companies, including companies that are publicly listed. Before I retired, right, I think this was around 2008 when I took an early retirement. I was in after the banks, I was in a group, a conglomerate that did a lot of things. But I take pride in that group because they were part of a nation building punya company lah, or group. When we talk about investments, from my perspective, when we were in the banks, we looked at some of these products. When I was in the corporate sector, we looked at these products for obvious reasons, largely because we were looking at how to grow the companies or the group of companies that we had. And after I retired, I joined the VC world. I was head, or rather we call them as a principal of a fund, which was an agro fund, about 50 million US at that time. Then later I joined another VC company, government owned, and then that company was actually doing technology, including digital creative technology. So that's what I was doing. Of late, since 2018, my mistake, 2018, myself with a couple of friends, we started a new VCMC, a venture capital management company. And we wanted to set our own fund. So, of course, things happen between 2018 and today. Lots of changes, not only in terms of politics, we were also faced with the pandemic, and of course the financial crisis that resulted from the pandemic also sets in. So now we are ready. The country actually, we are ready to get back to business, I hope. And for me, I'm looking forward to seeing new things to be done. And we are about to raise an agro fund, 7.5 million US, and we hope to actually get more local investments. Right.
Awesome. So if you guys want to know, the company is Pixel Play Venture,
Yep.
Abang Amir.
Betul.
So you can connect with them on LinkedIn, and they will help you lah. Okay, so I think we can start to go into our topic today. I think before that, for a lot of entrepreneurs or people are looking to fundraise, the one of the main thing is they would ask, what are the current issue? Is it suitable to raise and all that? So, what are your thoughts on the issues on fundraising currently in Malaysia?
Okay, in Malaysia, talking from my own perspective, lah, not so much industry, because we are a bit different when it comes to having eyes in relation to how the industry looks at the situation. Um, I guess, the first thing we have to ask ourselves, if we are investors, what do we want to do, right? When we call ourselves investors, um, the term itself has been used. I think sometimes it's been abused, when abuse meaning it's not very accurate to call bankers, for example, investors. They give you a loan, technically that is actually providing you capital, but technically they're not doing an investment per se. But we are a venture capitalists. We look at opportunities to invest in companies. And when we want to invest in companies, how we look at those companies will depend on what people used to say, our appetite. But more often than not, what I call them, we look at our thesis, or rather, what is it that we want to do when we say we want to invest. Just now I mentioned a bit kan, I kata we are looking at agriculture technology. So that is in itself part of our thesis, which says that, hey, I want to invest in companies that is involved somehow in technology and in agriculture, right? So that's how we look at it. So if the question is, what's the market outlook now for investors? Well, a lot of people have actually said that the market is a bit cautious. Um, I'm not too sure about being cautious, but I think any investor will be looking at opportunities, right? There's a saying, for every cloud, there is a silver lining. So that's how we look at things. Um, in fact, if you listen to some of them when they talk about market crashes or current post-pandemic, they will say this is actually the time to pick up companies, because you can get very low valuations, meaning to say you can get more for the same amount of money you invest. So actually, it depends on each individual or company, the investing company. Uh, for sorry, Haris. Just one more bit. For agriculture, it is slightly different dari segi outlook. Yeah. Um, One thing we can say for sure, the pandemic has opened our eyes. We saw how badly our agriculture industry, food especially, is exposed. I mean to say the risk, right? When we cannot go to restaurants, we have problems trying to get our food. In fact, not only restaurants, we have issues about getting, vegetables that's been grown in Cameron Highland to our doorstep. Nak beli tu pun susah, right? But in that difficulty and in that situation, we see new companies coming out that came up with solutions. And mind you, most of them are leveraging on technology, right? And I personally feel that agriculture is one space di mana technology has not been greatly leveraged on. I'm sure all of you have heard the term IR4, Industrial Revolution 4, right? That indicates that the new revolution right now we are in, and just before the financial crisis, or rather pandemic, the Industrial Revolution 4 are actually people using technology, especially digital technology, leveraging on it, going into business, right? agriculture, especially in the food technology, memang masa before or rather pre-pandemic, it's hardly being used or used minimally. Right
Mm.
now you see, people talking about IoT in growing vegetables, for example. They're looking at smart farms, right? Looking at greenhouses using a lot of technological resources dari segi not only growing them, feeding them, even the delivery systems, they have already included this, right? So that creates a new opportunity for everyone who is interested in this space. The second thing which a lot of people should not forget, especially those people developing these solutions, is actually Malaysia and many countries in Southeast Asia. We are just about to launch our 5G. Right? 5G is the cellular. 5G actually opens up a new dimension to doing businesses to and in the industry. So I think, and I'm actually excited that this space is going to be very exciting. Yeah, Haris.
Yeah, so I think as well there's a lot of startup coming up with various kind of solutions and new ideas that I think like they want to tackle this problem of food security and other
Yeah,
issues.
yeah.
So you touch a little bit about the value, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
now it's slightly more, in a way, looks to be more attractive. But the question is a general question that I always receive from people who want to fundraise is how do investor value a company? Of course, there's various way, but in your own term or in your view, how would you look into it?
Well, everyone has their own way of valuing, because valuation in itself is like, when you want to do a transaction, how much are you willing to pay, right? Or from your perspective, who's raising funds, how much you're willing to let go, all right? Now, from the financial punya side, there are many ways people have techniques using the valuation. Um, some of these techniques are actually quite sophisticated, but not necessarily being used for all types of industries. Um, for me, we look at the basic stuff dulu in terms of uh, doing evaluation. The basic stuff meaning to say, trying to get the net worth of a company. But for startups, it's especially difficult. Sebab the value of the company on paper sometimes does not show the real valuation of the company. So how then do you actually look at this? For venture capitalists like ourselves, we look at basically potential. Maybe a way of looking at valuation would be that if we want to invest in a company, the basic stuff is what's the company worth to us. So we look at the company and say, okay, this company is worth X million, for example, or I think it's Y million, for example, right? That's the first step. Then the next question is, this company the potential tak? Okay, if I have a fund and the fund is say 10 years, so I will say, look, I'm at the beginning of my fund. I see this company coming up. I not invest in this company because I feel that in 10 years, I can multiply the value of the company. Maybe uh, usually you look at 25 times. Kalau 10 years, that's quite a long time, right? Uh, or even higher than that. And that's how people look at, um, what's the potential of the company if I enter now, can actually grow the company to become a unicorn, for example. So investors would actually be asking themselves those questions, right? For people who wants to raise funds because they want to grow their company, right? In terms of how much you want to let go, you will have to ask this sort of things. Okay? You have to ask yourself, okay, if I were to let go my company, say 10% of the company, all right, and they put in say X million, and that gives me the valuation of my company 10 times X lah. All right. So kalau begitu, then am I happy with the value? Right. But a lot of times people forget. Right? Sometimes you say, oh, that's too low, too high. But when you go out and ask other investors, some of them may not be even willing to come in because of other reasons, not only because of valuation. Right. Startup companies are a bit difficult, I mentioned, because the progress of the company is just being starting, right? Kalau dah start tu, you would not have created enough tangible value, right? So how then do you go into this company from an investor's perspective? Now, for us, we normally look at relativity, or what we call comparison. Okay, if the company is doing, say, macam Haris, what woodwork and happens to be, wood products, and happens to be in furniture, so we'll say, okay, this type of companies is a factory. All right, what would be a company like Haris be valued at relative to other people or the market? So there are certain indicators that you can look at lah. Um, we would actually look at, uh, because the world is so big now, dah ada internet, senang kita akan cari data that will give you a comparison of similar companies and what it is valued. And usually this data are based on market value, which is stock market. So Malaysian stock market mungkin kurang, tetapi worldwide you would have the states, for example, any other buses, that they would have enough data that can give you an indication of the value based on this data. All right, so kita kena cari lah. And for us, we have a certain, what do you call that? Not techniques, certain sources of this what do you call the indicators that we use lah.
Understand. Because I also, because by I met a lot of investors as well. Very, like you say, each investor have their own appetite, have their own
Mhm.
way of evaluating and all that. And lastly, it will come to willing buyer and willing seller lah, like what you say,
Betul.
right? So that's why, like, I think the interesting part is it's diverse, and if one investor don't invest in you, doesn't mean that other investor might not invest in you. Correct?
Betul. That's
So
exactly right.
correct. I think that there is a question by one of our viewers, but before we go into that question, I just want to just ask a subsequent question, since we're in the topic of valuation. So for companies that want to look into this route, what are the metrics or data that they should monitor or like take into account?
Okay. Going to what the industry is doing lah. The basic data would be the financial statements. They would definitely, they look at growth potential. That's very definite. So they look at some of your history. How long have you been in business? Okay, what's the growth rate like? And the money that you require, what is it for? And definitely they want to see uh, the use of money is actually to grow the company further lah. Okay, so what you have to look at, or rather what you have to prepare for these investors, the financial statement that will show them this, what do you call that, these trends that they can actually look at lah. Kalau you bagi dia orang your P&L and balance sheet, itu terminologi lama, financial statements lah, sorry. You give them your financial statement, that actually will be a basic stuff that they require. And then kalau I will also ask for projected cash flows for a period which is reasonable to give, between 3 to 5 years usually lah. You should be able to predict where you want to go, and if you're raising funds, what is the funds going to be used for? And it for investors, you want to see them grow the company, so you want to see the projections showing that, right?
So for example, like if you look into the financial or the accounts, what kind of
Mhm.
things or element in there? Is there ratios that you look into, or just specific number, EBITDA or something? So what is important for you personally?
Okay, it depends on how you want to value this company. Usually, it's EBITDA. For me, it's usually EBITDA, and simply because the metrics that I'm going to use for my own evaluation uses that the Chagi, because that's the operational efficiency of the company, right? And then you think what other parts of the world, how are they doing? What's the what do you call that?
The benchmark lah or
The
base.
benchmark, right, right. So you do that, and there are various methods, but basically that's what you look for lah.
Other than EBITDA, what how do you see a financial statement as an
Okay,
investor? As a business owner, you see it differently, but as an
betul.
investor,
Betul, betul. For companies that's been in operations is quite standard lah. Consider this: you want to invest in the company, you have to be comforted that this company has the ability to grow, and the people managing the company is doing the right thing, or rather they are doing right stuff lah. So the accounts is where you look at. If you are performing well, then it will show in the accounts that you have managed the company well. And we can cross check with other similar companies, and you see what's the industry standard. If everybody is giving you X returns, then you're giving X plus, then that company is doing much better. But you have to look at why is plus lah, right? Yang tu kena cari. But the numbers will have to be related to the business, right? Often enough, if you're an accountant, you can pad up the number by doing a revaluation of assets lah. So those are not the numbers that we look at. We'll look at uh, what what metrics we use in order to predict the root of the company, whether they can actually grow and make more money lah.
so that is for companies that have standards account and all that. So let's
Yeah.
try to go into like startup. And like startup, I think maybe if it's like 1 year, maybe a bit difficult. Let's say 2 to 3 years. Would you still have that same approach, or how would you approach it?
Well, startups, yeah, you quite rightly said it's different. I mentioned it's going to be difficult. All right, startup kena tengok lah what industry they are in. One thing for sure, people who invest in startups is because they want to invest in those type of companies. All right, you go to people who look at just the P&L and things there. Kalau startup tu susah sikit lah. That's why startups will have a difficult time going to the banks trying to borrow money. Kan? Dia kata, oh, business is good, tapi you're still too early. Come back in 6 months' time. Show me how you have progressed. So that will be the challenge you have when you approach people who looks at companies like that. But at the same time, there will be people who actually say, hey, I want to do, say, people who are in ESG, for example. Not ESG because they want to look nice, but because they believe in it. All right. So if you come to me and I'm a promoter of ESG as well, then that's a good sign, because you have found somebody who believes in the things that you're doing. Right. So I will value it a bit different lah. Maybe I will say, okay, this company, although it's just starting up, tetapi they are doing the right things. I like the idea. All right.
It's
One
more
other
of
question,
preference lah of the VC, right?
uh, preference, and also that's why I kata tadi, you kena tengok thesis dia. The VC dia ada thesis, dia nak buat apa. Basic stuff. Okay, if I like agriculture, Okay, agriculture banyak actually. Food tech, okay,
Mm-hmm.
gone down a bit. Itu pun still banyak. Maybe in food, I tak nak buat hydroponics. I tak mau. Because kata hydroponics tu so unnatural lah. You tanam pokok, you bagi dia makan, tetapi you gantung dia dalam botol. That's how I describe it lah.
Something lah,
Gantung.
example lah.
Okay. So, well, science can tell you what nutrients to give. Tapi there are certain other things I believe in. I say, look, there are some things like, subsoil components that is required for plants. Plants don't only need the nutrients, but they need the carriers for the nutrients. I'm talking about microbes, for example, right? So if I believe in that, and you are doing something in that space, I will actually open my eyes and say, okay, I like what you're doing. Can we talk? That's that sort of approach. So
Understand.
it's key to find people who are investors. I mean, who are like-minded lah. All right, because for them, they like to do things they know and they love. All right, so kalau benda tu orang lain buat and things like that, and not his cup of tea, I'm sure dia tak nak buat.
Of course,
Right.
of course, of course.
So that's approach you have lah. I would like to put it slightly different. Yeah, and I would normally say you not invest ni because we are coming in as equity investors. It's like a marriage lah. You nak kahwin dengan orang tu, kena ngam lah. Alright. I'm not looking for a trophy wife. If I'm looking for a trophy wife pun boleh, because that would be my thesis lah. Alright. So you will lawakan yang company. The company is hebat dari segi if you have an airline that does fantastic things, I want to be associated to that. I will invest in that company. All right.
So, Betul.
That's how.
So, Bami, we have a question
Mm.
by Daniel. Hi, Dan. Thank you for tuning in. His question is: do PE only value startup from a financial and market opportunity perspective? How about the non-financial measures such as ESG measure, which you have tadi add on,
Touched.
which
Yeah, I
is
touched on
touch.
it.
But how do you even value the ESG part?
Okay. I don't know about others lah. I won't say I don't know about others. I won't talk about others, right? But for us, we have an approach where we say we want to do ethical investments. All right. The word ethical investment has a lot of meaning, but it all points out to be doing the right things, right from the business itself and from the investor punya perspective. You nak buat duit tu, you must do it right and things like that. Okay, simply put lah. I'm not very sure. I'm sure some of you know this. Kalau you bela udang lah, alright. It's necessary. You got to feed the world, good, right? Tetapi in aquaculture of this nature, you forget, or maybe they didn't forget, but they close one eye. Nak buat ponds tu, you got to actually place the ponds near certain types of environment lah. And usually it's very near two things. One is mangrove, right? The other is they need workers kan, so they need to be near villages. Usually is fishermen with villages. So then there will be disruption. All right, disruption from the operations of this udang ponds, right? The udang, if you don't bela properly, you will actually contaminate the water next to it, for example, right? Mangrove cannot survive because it's very mangroves are actually necessary for the ecosystem, but when you add new things there, it has to be friendly. Okay, people yang bela udang kadang-kadang to protect their udang, they will use all sorts of chemicals dan sebagainya. Even if they don't do chemicals, right? Dia bagi makan udang tu, the techniques they use must be a very efficient technique. Kita from management punya perspective, kita kata, okay, efficient means good. for udang, they probably look at what is called as food conversion ratio lah. Bermakna how much 1 kilo of 1 kilo of feed dibagi, udang to grow how much. That means the benefit of the feed dibagi is fully maximized. But if the technique dia guna tu, there's a lot of wastages. These wastages not only will contaminate the ponds, it will poison the pond because of the generation of the food stuff. It becomes poison, and then we throw out the water. You're going to affect the ecosystem
Mm,
nearby. You're going to
mm,
probably are going to kill some of the fishes or whatever over there. So it becomes not sustainable. You know what I mean? Okay, so
understand, understand.
that's an example. So kalau kita nak invest, I think okay, you guna this technique. This technique is known to be, after 2 years, you cannot continue it anymore. Okay, the ponds are going to be devastated because of
Mm,
the techniques you use. So we don't invest in those type of companies because we want
mm,
to do the right thing, being ethical,
mm.
right?
Mm-hmm, understand. So it's if you wanna pitch for an ESG based company, then you have to
Mhm.
make sure that it's not just a trend that you're following. You
Oh
have to
yes,
follow, see all the process and like look into it. I think that is
definitely.
also the other question. Some of the other question that Daniel asked as well, which is the parameter because he rephrased it by saying perhaps a
Mhm.
better question is if an SME agriculture company that intend to use IR 4.0 to improve productivity and efficiency to serve the market, would PE and VC consider such venture? Beside financial valuation, what other parameters will be considered? I think you have touched a little bit of that, and
Yep.
I think each company have different approach to it. I think the question is not the parameter. The parameter can be you decide what parameter you want to pitch, right?
Yep.
And but the I think the better question is um, where or who are you pitching to? Like who are these ESG investors and all that you have to meet? Because each of them, even though they say ESG investors, some are looking into sustainability, some look into the B40 communities and all that. So
Right.
maybe if you can give some idea on is there such who are these people or where do we find out about this kind of BCPE in Malaysia?
Okay. I would like to recommend if you go to our LinkedIn. I actually did a post yesterday. Okay, there is an event as macam webinar juga. It's free. It's been conducted by Founders Institute on the 22nd, I think, of February. 22nd February. The details are there. You go and look. I think there will be the panelists of ada 3 orang, and they're all I think in this space as well. Alright, I'm not talking about ESG space, but I'm talking about the VC space lah. Uh, but there's an odd person lagi tu, so I can't remember. But never mind. I
Hmm.
think this is the best place to ask them. You can ask them the same questions and see how different their answers could be from mine. Right? That will give you some perspective of some people are thinking like this, some people are thinking like that. All right, which is very important. Very important to you because at the end of the day, you nak cari partner in marriage. You kena tengok yang mana you boleh, uh, what do you call that? Kautim dengan lah. Okay.
Ngam, ngam.
Ngam lah. So, this is like shopping lah. This is like
Hmm.
shopping. So I think there's an approach. So don't forget, go to our website. Sorry, I'll go to my LinkedIn. Um, Pixel Play my LinkedIn pun ada. If you want to look at mine pun ada. I normally do
Hmm.
dual. I post it in
Hmm.
Pixel Play and I will post it myself with some comments and
Hmm.
things like that. Okay, you will
Hmm.
find the details there. You have to register,
Hmm.
and I think you do it quickly lah.
Okay,
For
okay,
those
okay.
of you
Cool,
who
cool,
don't know
cool.
about Founders Institute, I think they are one of the largest agency or not agency, a group of people who are promoting VC
Hmm. Okay, okay,
worldwide.
okay. Cool,
Yeah,
cool,
worldwide.
cool.
So okay.
And I think pun right now the VC space, PE space have I think shift a little bit towards more of the ESG ethical and all that. So it's
Yep.
interesting to see conversation around it.
Yep.
I think one of the question that I want to ask is more on advice for fundraisers. How do you want do you do? What are your advice for them in terms of attracting investors?
Okay, number one, of course, I like to use this phrase. Whatever you do, you must fatten the cow. You nak jual lembu, takkan you nak jual lembu yang lembek, tak bermaya. You must make the cow look good because people wants to buy quality companies with the potential of become even better. So that is the story you must tell them. Okay, you invite them because you are the one that is going to make money for them. All right. So based on this just basic principle, then the question is, what should I do in order to make sure it happens? All right, or you become attractive. And I think you would probably know as well, whoever you are, you're doing your business, you know, in your industry, you know, some things are sexy, some things are not. Why are people going into ESG now? Because they believe ESG is going to give them an edge, make them different from other potential ventures. I call them ventures, other companies, to the same people that you're trying to raise funds from, right? So you don't want to be different. You want to say it's me that you want. So that's where you should be looking at lah. Um I'm trying to think of how to zoom in and make it clearer dari segi from the company's perspective. It also uh, sometimes is who you are lah, dari segi personality. All right, you want to raise fund, you want to attract investors. The investors must be attracted to you. So there are certain types of characteristics, personal characteristics that the investors will be looking at. So you will say, how do you determine that? Well, more often than not, what you need to do is actually to study the investor. All right, look at what he has invested in. All right, if he's invested in ABC type companies, which is like orang biasa pun ada. Okay, all they want to do is they just want to you know invest and then hope that the investment will be fruitful for them. So those type of people, you have to show them that they're one of those companies that they should include in their stable. Simply put lah. All right. Of course, if you get companies or rather investors that is a bit picky lah. All right. I only want the top 5 companies in Malaysia, for example, nothing less. Right. So then you dah dapat indication. All right. However, even if you think they go for the top 5, there is this possibility of saying, well, I'm not there yet, but I will be there, and this is what I intend to do. So you have to impress upon them that you are a worthy candidate to be invested in.
Understand. So another advice that I think a lot of people are looking for as well. Where do we find this list of, I don't know, maybe angels or VCs, or where should they go to learn more about who are the VCs and all that? Is there such thing? Is there a portal? I don't know.
well, I
Or
would think that
community?
community ada. Malaysia
Hmm.
has what is called the Association of Angel Investors. So that's one that you can go to. But often enough, I see lah. Often enough, these people and these communities, they are sort of I would rather look for you than you come for me. But that is changing now. I see a lot of people doing seminars to get potential startups. They will have to invite them and they talk. So those seminars and things that go to them. Uh,
Hmm.
what I mentioned just now about the 3 gentlemen too, you register yourself, I can bet you somebody going to pick up at least your name. They will say, okay,
Mm.
this guy is doing this. So dah pergi tu, you must make yourself be seen lah. You participate,
Mm.
ask the right questions and things like that. Well, sometimes it's not about asking the right question; it's about being seen, right? So that's the other way. And of course, a lot of people will do some research. All right, LinkedIn dah fantastic sekarang. Okay, you got filters in LinkedIn though. That you can actually say, okay, I want to look for VCs who are in the ESG space. They'll give you everything, including those people in Israel, for example. All right, Israel probably agriculture lah. ESG, I'm not sure. Agriculture for sure ada. Uh, but you want to zoom in into the Malaysians, right? So it is one step at a time lah. And I like the LinkedIn because LinkedIn you can do your own posting. When you post, um, you want people to see and say, okay, Amir ni dia post pasal agriculture, for example. Okay, he must be interested in agriculture. Then they will follow me, for example. Uh, but I can tell you there are techniques of going into LinkedIn and getting yourself noticed. Um, I think that's a topic for a different day. I'm not an expert. I'm learning about it. But my recent postings have picked up because of some of the techniques I used. All right. So that's another space that you can be looking at.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, instead of searching for them, which you should be doing, at the same
Yeah.
time you should be attracting them by being seen, like being more
Being
proactive,
busy.
more
Right.
and all that. So I think
Yeah.
that is true, and we should all aspire to do that. Maybe
Yeah.
we can do another post, another show on the linking. But I think for today we are at the end of the show already. So
Oh, so far.
thank you very yeah. So I think before we finish, I would ask you, I mean, like, what are your future plans, or what can we look into in terms of what you are doing and Pixel Play are doing?
Okay. Pixel Play right now, we have, as I mentioned just now, we just started a fund specifically for agrotech. We believe in that sector, and we're just going through the rudimentary things that we need to do in order to raise the fund lah. But just watch out. Follow our what do you call that? LinkedIn page, and see if we do something that is interesting or you can participate. And if you can, just give us a shout out. Uh, Kalau you tak nak buat pixel play, can come directly to me pun boleh. My full name is Amiruddin Abdul Aziz. That happens to be my LinkedIn name lah, Amiruddin Abdul Aziz. Alright. I don't know why I put my full name. Saya ada pakai Amir Aziz. Anyway, maybe Amir Aziz banyak dah ramai orang kot. So that's one. And I'm also interested in businesses of a developmental in nature lah. All right, something that we're doing different from others that can actually contribute to a bigger, what do you call that, community, and more people will benefit lah. This is going towards impact investments, if you know what I mean lah. So those are the
Mm-hmm.
things we're looking at.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of talk about impact investment, impact reporting, ESG, and all that. So I'm guessing that that is going to be the trend for these next few years. So if you guys are
So,
looking to fundraise or to even develop your companies, do look into this angle, because there's a lot of growth in this space.
yeah.
So, Amir, thank you very much for your time.
Most
Um,
welcome.
and for everyone else, thank you for tuning in. If you like this show, please share it. Um, uh, s- Next week, we're going to have another session, an interesting session as well. So do tune in. And thank you for spending your lunch with us. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, have a green week ahead. Bye bye, guys.